Because there's a lot of youth that need a spot for food, warmth, and just talking to people.
So Youth in Transition is the nonprofit agency that operates Chrysalis House. It's a residence for homeless and at-risk youth 16 to 19. The youth that we would work with at Chrysalis House are youth who are either homeless or near homeless or at risk of being homeless.
I'm the executive director of the John Howard Society of Fredericton. I've been employed with the agency for the last 22 years now. Over that time I've done everything from youth programs, adult services, housing support services.
I think the biggest gap currently in community is the fact that we don't have one spot where the kids can go to access all the services.
We don't have one central spot where youth can get what they need without labels or being identified as broken.
You'll see a lot of youth that don't belong in the criminal justice system. They're there because we don't have a drop-in center. We don't have the preventative measures in place for them to be able to develop and connect with the people. The next step, it's the first step. So, and it's a crucial first step.
We noticed that there weren't really any community spaces for LGBT youth, so I think that this is definitely something that's missing in Fredericton.
In general, but for Aboriginal youth, then when they come into these communities, they face a tremendous amount of judgment, and so oftentimes won't seek help until whatever issue they're dealing with is now greater. And without a support system, and oftentimes they fall through the cracks. So
a lack of awareness of what services are available and how the services are presented.
I think a lot of youth don't seek help just because the wait is so long. So if there just could be a place where we could just walk in and get what we need at that time, I think that would be a really big help to a lot of people.
It's not always a choice, for example, to be homeless. A lot of times homelessness is the result of system failures.
There are needs that are for youth that are not being met currently, and so I think there's a real need to focus on that particular population.
We envision it as a space where kids can come and have access not only to, resources like mental health and addictions and financial services, but also a place where youth could maybe access some education programming, some recreation. We would have this youth drop-in center at the center with wraparound services. So all the services that a youth might need who is homeless and or at risk, and really just youth in general in population when they run into, certain situations in community, have nowhere to go. So this would be the one spot where they could go to access any services.
When a youth presents for service, that's the time to give him the service that he or she needs. It's not about, your course starts Monday morning at 9 o'clock. It's about giving them what they need when they present for service immediately.
From my perspective, what the drop-in center would do is actually help youth navigate all of these services, because oftentimes youth, for whatever reason, maybe they're fearful of systems, they don't trust people, but a place like a drop-in center could be a good place where teens could build rapport and trust with the workers, but also get a sense of what's out there for services in terms of help navigating them. So I think a youth drop-in center would help with that, bring all the services together.
It does create a bridge for services, because most of the youth that I deal with are less likely, perhaps, to engage in support service work and connect with people in a formal setting. So a youth drop-in center, we often say in youth work we need to meet youth where they're at. And sometimes we don't know where they're at. So a youth drop-in center builds that comfortable space for them to be themselves, a welcoming place, and a starting point often to bridge that gap to the next place that they might need to be, whether that's mental health services or education programs, employment programs, etc.
I think a drop-in center that is first and foremost just a healthy place to be is the ideal, to let it be youth-led, to let it be youth-informed, and to be vibrant and a place of wellness, to really have a kind of wraparound multidisciplinary practice approach to dealing with child and youth issues.
It will allow for, a hub where youth can go to get resources around food, abuse, shelter, so if you can bring everything under one roof where youth can go to access these services, it just makes it easier.
Always telling youth that, when you're struggling in life, don't be afraid to ask for help, and a drop-in center could be a place where a person can go and get that help.
Drop-in center to me would mean that I'd have a place to go if I needed help, or if I needed just to hang out, a place to hang out with my friends. If I needed someone to talk to, I believe that it would be a perfect place for me to go, or for any youth to go to.
And it would provide a kind of safe space for youth to go to and at least get connected.
And just having a place where they can kind of be themselves in a safe place.
And just knowing that there is an authority figure that they can go to who isn't going to then kind of spread their identity to the world if they're not ready for that is really important. And also just a space for socializing is really important for youth as well.
In order for our community to be more better and more welcoming, we have to create that room where youth are not judged, where youth are free and feel like here's our own space. We need to be able to work with other youths that are different than us. Is the most beautiful thing you can find in a community.
So we have to be really proactive in understanding what are the youth needs. Let them talk. Let them be part of the solution.
And it's just another, tool in the toolbox that Aboriginal youth could use in regards to reconciliation, right? Bringing people together to help understand one another in this modern day and time sort of thing, right? I think that's a step in the right direction.
I think every community needs to have, a place for young people, youth to hang out and to be well.
This has the potential to prevent a lot of homelessness. At the end of the day, we know that if we meet the needs of our young people now, then they're more apt to be successful.
With the drop-in center, you're going to be able to link in with services that are out there quickly and become well aware of what kind of help there is, what the resources are. And so I think that'll make a huge difference in terms of not falling through the cracks.
The challenge is the real-time stuff. When are there times when kids can connect? When are there times when youth feel connected? And I think a youth drop-in center can help build that gap between a lot of these kids that are feeling lost right now.
Just the preventative measures that can be in place, providing basic care, warmth, food, care, talk therapy, just in connecting with someone, that bus ticket that you might need, those sorts of things. Those preventative measures are shown to be much more cost-effective in the long run compared with police response, emergency room, hospitals that end up picking up all the broken pieces.
Personally, I'd probably use it for just somewhere to go to talk to calm myself down or to get help if I need it.
Is at least have people to talk to and just get a lot of stuff off my plate.
I think that it'd just be a really good environment to hang out with my friends, stay out of trouble. So.
More positive outcomes, more graduates completing their secondary school and going on to college and trade school. Again, the cost effect is much more efficient and more intelligent in the long run. So we're saving money and helping youth.
Anything we can really do for youth to promote overall wellness, you're going to see benefits in many health outcomes, education outcomes, different things like that.
There's all kinds of youth within the youth culture that a place like this would be a safe space for them. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a youth that's identified as coming out, whether it's a youth that's identifying as trans youth, whether it's a youth that is struggling with mental health or addictions, or maybe it's an urban Aboriginal youth that's looking for a connection to their culture, and there's all kinds of layers there, I think, within this drop-in center. If it's moving in the right direction, that they could really identify different populations within the youth culture that they can help. Because many kids don't feel connected. And I think that's why often maybe drugs or alcohol are an issue. I think the other piece around mental health or mental illness, I think symptoms can be exacerbated if they don't feel that sense of support in the communities. I think a youth drop-in center would be an ideal safe place for these kids to go to. Not just kids that are at risk, but any youth.
No matter what, teenagers, they're teenagers. You are from Korea, you are from the Middle East, from Africa, from Latin America, from anywhere. You are a teen, and as a human being, you deserve to be treated with the same human rights. And there is no differentiation between like youth. You are youth, you are youth. But so many of you that we are working with, they are coming here not by choice, because there is some situation of persecution or there is some natural disaster, and they end up here in this community, which it's really normal to behave differently because we're from different world. We're coming from a different culture. So if I don't speak the language, it doesn't mean that I cannot be part of the program. And so many times that's where we see many youths, they don't participate because they are being excluded. As a host community and the newcomers population, they can come together in one space where you can do these things. Nobody, everybody is welcome, and that's in that way we'll be included.
We don't want that we just to able to focus on what we have. We want them to be able to explore what Fredericton have to offer. The youth drop-in center is up and running. One quote you need to write: "Dear new Canadians are welcome."
Culturally inclusive activities in a drop-in center, just to help maybe Aboriginal youths feel connected to their community. Maybe they might be living away from their community, but having these unique services, culturally appropriate services in a drop-in center would, I think, make them feel inclusive too. And it's always great when you see young people from different cultures come together, and it helps to build trust and respect amongst people, sort of thing, right? I think that's very important. For a possible ideal, engage the communities. You bring, elders come to the drop-in center.
I noticed that this is not just an LGBT youth center, but it's more of an intersectional youth center. So it's for youth of all experiences, which I think is really important because LGBT youth also can be Native youth. They also can be poor youth. They can have a whole range of other experiences. So I think it's great to have kind of an umbrella to add all of these things together.
Like a youth drop-in center is an incredibly important resource in community. If we say it takes a village to raise a child, then where's that space in the village?
Youth do not have a place where they can simply show up and access services. It's really that simple. Well, I think just basically what we've seen is youth come in to access services, and we, to be honest, have limited capacity to provide them service. We see on average about 200 to 300 youth per year that present for service. So we know the need is here. We're seeing that on the north side. So if it's this great on the north side, then I think you'd see a lot more numbers downtown core.
I look at it as that how do we create a community, right? So where can kids go to have a sense of safety, sense of significance, and feel a sense of solidarity around their community?
I think it would be really tremendous to have something like that, and I hope we have something real soon.
It's certainly past the due date for when we need to establish a drop-in center.
We have to put our hands on action and start singing song.
Fredericton is rich. Just make that center and just pull all the strings together.
I think if you asked any youth worker, police officer, or anyone in support services locally, if we need to do more for youth, where we're at with our report card in this community, there's still a lot more to do. We're doing a great job building new hotels, new golf courses, I'm a golfer, convention centers, to attract business to the area. So when we put our mind to it, we have the resources and the capability to build all kinds of different spaces. So my question to the other participants and to everyone is that if one of our top priorities isn't building a drop-in center for youth, then what is your priority?